Thank you, Corey, and thank you everyone for being here, for being enthusiastic of what I'll be talking about. And before I start talking, I really want to share a little bit about what Be the Delta, what my company is. Not in terms of trying to market or trying to tell you what the business is about, but really to share our value, our ideas. And I think it translates very clearly to what Rotary is all about. I loved doing some research on the clubs and seeing what your motto is because it's so much in line with what our passion is as a company. Be the Delta has been in my heart and mind for about 5 years, but little did I know it started when I was very young, as I saw my grandmother in Beaumont, Texas, doing what she felt she knew to do in order to see her community transformed. And she didn't even think of it in terms of community transformation. She really did think of it in terms of what can I do when I see a challenge, when I see an issue in my neighborhood, what can I do and what are the resources, who are the people I know that can get the job done. And so I remember very distinctly one summer being in Beaumont and her finding out about a family whose home had burned down and they had zero resources in order to start the rebuilding process. And so for her, in her context, she called all of the women that were in the missions group and she said, okay, what do you have? Let's get them some clothes immediately. Who's going to take care of the meals? Who can long-term find them short-term housing, and then long-term, what can they do? And it wasn't just her doing it, but just very interactive with her network, but also with that family. And I just remember, I remember seeing that, but I didn't think necessarily in terms of what does that mean to me. I just knew that's what Grandma did in order to get things done. So fast forward over the years, I've had the privilege to work with some amazing nonprofits, and I did the part that I knew to do in order to affect my community. That was a value instilled in me from the very beginning. And so I started the process of saying, what can I do? And that's when fundraising became my thing, that it wasn't a chore, it was actually a love, it was actually a passion. I'm one of those few people that actually enjoys fundraising, asking for money, for donations, all that other good stuff. And so I did it and I love it. And I actually still continue to do that because that was a part of the job that I loved. And I recognize that it's a skill, it's a craft, it's an art that's needed with my clients and with those that I'm connected with. And so what has happened is as we started to think about, okay, what is this company about? It's not so much about me doing things in the community. It's about really equipping every individual to be the transforming agent in their community. And so when we said be the Delta, and I love how you phrased it, Corey, it's about be the change or be the change agent that you need in your community. And it's sometimes we go to the nonprofits that are there in order to affect that change, but sometimes, we can do it just like my grandmother did. She didn't have all these nonprofits within her grasp, within her reach, but she knew the people within her community that at least had this little piece right here that come in and say, you know what, yeah, I'll take that and I'll do it. And I'll do it to completion, I'll do it with excellence, and we will ensure that this family is not only taken care of for a short term, but how is it that we make sure for the long term that they are set up in order to be successful in whatever that looks like, however they define that. And so those values, those intentions really translated into what not only myself but the company is about. So fast forward to the last couple of days as I've sat and looked at, okay, what is Rotary about? And I was telling Linda that Wikipedia isn't the best place, but it is a place to get information. And so I went there and I loved it. It says the primary motto for Rotary is service above self. There was an earlier model that one profits most who serves best. And that certainly encapsulates Rotary Club, and that's what we're about, and then as we go about doing our work. So what has happened as a business does the work that it's supposed to do, our thing that we have become known for is really building that bridge of communication between nonprofits, businesses, and individuals. And what that looks like kind of looks like a lot of different things. Sometimes you'll see us in event planning mode. Other times you'll see us in a mode where I'm going to talk about today, values, when we're talking with businesses and they're doing their business and doing that work incredibly well, but they're also feeling the need to be excellent community partners. We don't go straight to in terms of, okay, what nonprofits are you interested in? We say, what are your values? What's important to you? What really makes you say, yeah, that's directly going to not only impact the area that we serve in, but our community, where we do business. And so we've come to find that if we can find out what your values are, if we can help you to articulate that, and then be the bridge that helps you to cross over to the nonprofit world and saying, okay, this organization's values match up with your values. And I really do mean that value to value. I'm not saying value to mission, but I'm saying value to value. But then on top of that, the mission that you're interested in or that's really important to you also matches, then that will be a much better long-term way of being a great community partner because it matches. It not only feels good to you for the short term, but for the long term. And as you start to track not just results, but impact, that you can make this direct correlation between what the company values and then the impact that you're having and where that's important to you. So that's what I bring to you as I talk to you guys today. And as we talk, actually, as we have a conversation, that's what I bring. All of that is what I bring to the table. And what I've come to find over the last couple of years, especially with the economy doing its thing as far as really struggle, a lot of people start to have a concern about how can I be a part of my community? And they come in at it from different ways. Some of them say, you know what, I've lost my job. I want to volunteer. Where can I volunteer? Some folks come at it from a place of maybe they're still in their job, but they want to look and see, you know what, I'm at a place where it's time for me to start giving back. There are those that have retired, and they say, you know what, I have a little bit more discretionary time. I like to call it discretionary time to give back. So where do I do that? How can I do that? And so I want us to kind of, whatever place you're coming from, to really think about that because it's important. And then to look at, okay, how can we as a Rotary Club, where are the places that we give our time? And does that still match up with not only where I'm at as an individual, but also where we are as an organization? When I say organization, I'm talking about this E-Club right here. And so that's what I find myself doing a lot. I've got another time that I'll be speaking it specifically to younger, the 20 to 30 audience. And, there are some considerations that they have. They're not as able to give time-wise, but what does that look like so that it's still meaningful? And so anyway, as you start to think of what your perspective is, which I think is very important, then we can think in terms of where our organization serves, and does that look like the same things that we're doing? And it could be just a revalidation process, or am I at a different place? Should I be doing something a little bit different? What does that look like? And then what are the mechanisms in order to help make that shift happen? And so one of the things the thing that I would love to really think about right now is, what are your personal values? What are your personal values, the core things that are very important to you? For some, that's going to be church, Christ, my family. For others, that could be maybe their family structure is a little bit different, and it's friends, and it's other different things. Of course, there are lots of people who are dog lovers, and so their family pet is very important, which is very valid because I'm certainly in that place as well. Love the dog lovers. The cat lovers, okay, if you love your cat, but what is that personal value? Yes, Annie's cat person. We are too, but the dogs, we love the dogs. But what is that personal value? It could be a thing, it could go directly to mission, or it could be, you say, it's not necessarily the value, but the important thing right now is the amount of time that I have. So it can look different in different ways, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a wrong thing. It's just something you need to have clarity about, and you've got to clearly identify for yourself, so that as you come together in conversation, you can articulate what's important to you and help that to really shape the conversation from the right way, from the right perspective. And so I would love to hear, what are some of your personal values as you've thought about it right now? What's something, even if it's a top 1, 2, 3, that's really important to you, that you can say that that's really a core, that's something that's important to me?
You mean like as far as a group that we would want to be involved in?
You could,
Something like
if
that.
That's what immediately came to mind, that absolutely works.
Well,
Or if
I
it's
mean, what I
something
was going to
else.
say in regards to giving up my time, I want it to be something impactful. I want it to make a difference.
Okay. Okay.
Like that would be something that I would look for in whatever I put my time into.
So something that the end result is clearly defined.
Right.
Like you can see it, you can touch it, you
Yes.
can taste it, because knowing that there is something that's transformed is very important to you.
Correct.
Is that okay? Great.
Like
That
we work
understand
with
that.
a clinic, a Rotary-sponsored clinic in Rio Bravo, Mexico,
Okay. Okay.
and with tuberculosis border health.
Mhm.
So that's been our passion.
Okay. International health.
Right.
If I
Yeah,
was
right
okay.
along the border, yeah.
Okay.
Texas,
International.
Mexico.
Okay. So health along the border. Okay. Awesome. 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 And is that the club here or is that?
Well, we've just joined this club. We've been in
Okay.
another club, and but we've been working with this project for 8 years, 9 years.
Oh, wow.
9 years, and made
Wow,
about
okay.
25 trips down there.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Fantastic.
We don't cross the river anymore, and I
Okay.
probably don't need to explain why.
Yes. 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 Yes.
We go to the valley, they
Okay.
come across, we give them stuff, they take it back.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And
Okay.
like yesterday, we gave a program on tuberculosis
Okay.
at the Trinity Club.
Okay, okay, okay. And that's a huge issue. Sometimes we don't realize here how huge an issue tuberculosis is, but you step into
More
another
so here
country.
than on the border.
Tuberculosis inside the United States more so
Yeah,
than on the
along
border?
to Texas. It's more prevalent up here in Dallas
Oh.
than it is along the border because everybody moves up.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
Dallas County had over 200 new cases
Mm-hmm.
last year.
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I went to India and came back, and they wanted to keep track of me and just make sure everything was
Make
okay.
sure you had a polio
Mhm,
vaccination?
Mhm.
Did you have a polio
Well,
vaccination?
yeah, I had all my vaccinations,
Okay.
but yeah.
Because
So I
we've just been
understand.
declared polio free
Oh, really?
in India.
Okay, okay,
We've been free
fantastic.
for 3 years.
Oh,
3.5
fantastic,
years now.
fantastic. What about you, Corey?
Oh,
You cannot
girl,
delegate.
no, I won't.
You're gonna have your
I-
answer for
Right,
it.
exactly.
There's one of the things that I value is the opportunity to develop others or to help others
Okay.
develop. And it's probably more appropriate to say to help others develop.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha,
to help
gotcha.
others develop.
So you want to
Particularly
create
have a heart for
fishermen.
children,
Okay.
Particularly a heart for children.
Okay. What age group?
From walking to,
Okay.
to launching into
Okay.
college, say.
Okay, okay, okay. Good deal, good deal. That's good to know. Because it's good to know because children, with their different stages of development, it looks like different things as far as
Oh,
interacting
Absolutely.
with children. So good to know, good to know.
Well, Corey was very active in our adoption event that we had in Rotary.
Uh-oh.
Fantastic.
And so we have found out this last week from visiting with CPS
Uh-huh.
that instead of 12, we may have had as many as 12. Instead of 7, we may have had as many 12 adopted out of 17.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let me know when your adoptive parents are needing interest-free loans.
We don't have interaction. You have
Oh,
to go
okay.
to CPS.
Okay. No worries, no worries. If you ever come across someone, let me know.
Okay. How
Um,
about me?
wow, I love it, I love it. And you?
Well, I think you mentioned, everybody probably has some sort of a spiritual life or something.
Mhm.
That's important and trying to move more that way.
Mhm,
Doing things and
Cool.
maybe some of the things I would like to do I haven't been able to do, but
Mhm.
focus a little more in that direction.
Okay.
As well as another thing that I think a lot of people personally may, everybody wants to eat better, be healthier.
Sure.
I think our society
Mhm.
kind of become aware of a lot of things like that.
Right.
Focus on.
Mhm. So when you say you're developing within the realm of your spiritual life, is it you personally? Is it impacting others and their spiritual life? Kind of help me understand what that looks
I'm
like.
speaking more so for myself right now, and
Okay.
finding ways to, in doing that, to be an example, just like through working through organizations that help others, and
Right.
those are things which your church and other places provide opportunities for that.
Great, great. I love it.
Good
I love
to
it.
know.
That's why I asked the questions. And you, Linda, right?
Lisa.
Lisa. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lisa.
Well,
Okay,
I'm the
yeah,
mother
Linda.
of a
Lisa.
1-year-old, so
Okay.
my focus now is more on
Oh,
family
you're
than
right.
it's ever been.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whether it's my family or others. I just can't imagine kids being in a situation where they might be abused or not just absolutely cherished for the little angels that they are.
So you want the really young kids, because by about what, 2, 3? Sometimes we don't feel that. Yeah, we don't feel as they're as angelic as we'd really like for them to be.
I'm getting to that point now, and
Yeah.
I just can't imagine someone
Wow.
abusing a kid. And
Yeah.
about this man that locked the baby in the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just,
Yeah,
that just
it's a tough place to
absolutely breaks
work.
my heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or forget that they're in the car.
Yeah.
And that could happen. I mean, you do get so tired and overworked or whatever, but
Sure.
I just can't imagine.
Right. Well, so I know we have chat enabled, it looks like, for our folks that are online. So I don't know if you want to send a note to us.
Or they can.
Or you can chime in?
Unmute, yeah, they can unmute
Oh.
themselves.
Oh, fantastic. I'd love that. If someone, as we've been discussing, wants to share. It looks like Caribbean Bill, who's... Sure. You can go ahead, Bill.
It's
Or-
a little choppy.
Or maybe not.
He's coming. He's
Okay.
coming.
Okay. No worries. Well, if there's someone that would like to chime in, just let us know. I'm sure there's some way on this dashboard you could let me know, and I'll make sure that we make room for you to share.
And it's set such that they can unmute themselves,
Okay.
and you would be able to hear them just like you hear Bill. Only Bill's out on the water.
Right.
So
Right.
theirs would be clear. Michael's on and Charlotte's on.
Okay.
'Cause I know Michael
Fantastic.
did a mission trip with his.
So anyway, so just to bring it back around to the idea of change and transformation. So we've talked about some of those things that are relevant, that are important to us. And then when we go a step beyond that and talk in terms of what's important to this club, has that been articulated? Have we shared, what is the value that's important to the E-Club as it does service? And what does that look like? Who's going to articulate? Corey.
Where's our leader?
Corey.
Oh,
How far is that
Wait.
anything?
I would say that we're working through that.
That's one thing I
One of-
mentioned to Alexi is that that's
Yeah.
something that's been
One
top of mind.
it's something that we're beginning to work through. And I mean, for me, one of the things that I put down here is individual values aligning with club mission is part of what you talked
Yeah.
about. So one of the things I've been trying to do is to meet with individuals in the club, and we have the benefit of the club being small, so that you can get a deeper sense of who they are and what they value,
Right.
so that you can find the point of engagement
That's
in
exactly.
a way that's mutually beneficial.
Right.
The club is enhanced and they're fulfilled.
Right.
So
Right.
that's something that's going on now.
Well, and that's a very important exercise for the club, not just for you to know individually, but to be able to articulate to one another, to articulate to Corey, since he's the leader, to say, these are the things, these are perspectives. From my perspective, this is what's important. Now, that doesn't mean the end result is going to satisfy everybody, because we all know if we've been leaders, that's a very hard thing to accomplish. However, there may be ways within an organization, when I say within an organization, within a nonprofit, to meet the core value that you have. But they won't know that that's something that's important individually if Corey doesn't know to articulate that, to say, okay, we as the E-Rotary, our preference, and I'm just throwing this out there just for the sake of conversation, our preference is for all of us to give our time within the context of one organization. But within this one organization, we have multiple values and perspectives that are represented. And to the best of both of our abilities, the E-Rotary as well as the nonprofit organization, we'd love to see each one individually satisfied as well as the organization satisfied. And what's important to us, one of the things that's going to be important to us is not only that we're there and we're doing what's necessary, but the impact. What does that look like? Not only how does that impact the nonprofit organization, how does that impact the clients, short term and long term? And that kind of pulls together everything that you guys have articulated. So you certainly at some point want to hear from Bill, Charlotte, and Michael so that their needs, their values can be incorporated in the conversation. But that's how we, from the Be the Delta perspective, kind of shape things and then are the bridge of communication between volunteers and the nonprofits or businesses who are also actually in the same position as you guys, because by the time they get to this conversation, they've got this mass amount of employees and they're looking for a project. And the reality is what happens is they're just like, give us a project. Let's go to the food bank because we know the food bank can handle groups, you know, and we'll just all go to the food bank and boom, get that community service in. Well, let's back up a little bit. I understand that works and it has worked for a short term, but I promise you, the way people are going and the way nonprofits are going, you want to match mission. You really want to match mission and values because it only helps for the short term. If someone's real passion, if someone's real drive, if someone's commitment isn't there because what you're doing does nothing for them, then there's a real disconnect long term. And it could even be a short term disconnect. It could be, you know what, one and done. And nonprofits would way prefer a deeper connection. And it's not just so we can get your money. Oh, here's Lexi. Now she's in fundraising mode. I promise you. It's not just that. It really isn't. It really isn't. Because even myself as a fundraiser, I want you long term. I want you long term because that indicates real deep connection, meaningful connection, which is so important.
Partner for life.
Yes.
The
yes.
Sewell way, customer for life.
Very true. Very true.
Customer for life.
Very true. But let's call it the Lexi way.
Okay.
In this context. In this context. But or I should say the Be the Delta way. But it's important. It's important. We want long term. We want long term. So, with that in mind, I'm just curious. I know that Linda, you mentioned on the border and healthcare, and there's actually a place that you guys are giving your time now. Are there other organizations that you are specifically as an individual are giving your time at this point? And if you're looking, that's fine, or if you haven't found that place.
While you're talking nonprofits, in February in Grand Prairie, we did a nonprofit expo. And to exhibit the qualification, you had to be providing a free service in the city of Grand Prairie. We had 31 groups signed up. Half of them I'd never heard of before. We had a place, it cost nothing to exhibit. The objective was to acquaint the community with all the services. And on that, we failed miserably because only 25 people came. But apparently, Parks and Recreation liked it because they want us to do it again. And several of the people, Salvation Army brought a disaster relief truck. One person stopped and looked at it.
Really?
And that was a member of our Rotary Club. And I went by to apologize to Captain Jameson. He said, it was wonderful. We found 5 agencies that can help us. with
Oh,
what we're
wow.
trying to do.
So the agencies really
And
connected
they
deeply.
interacted, and a
Sure.
lot of people said, we need to do that again, but don't invite the public.
That's interesting. Right, no. That's a very interesting model. We're going to go dive deep into that, but that's
Linda
interesting.
made up a list, contact information, the name,
Wow.
couple of lines of what you do, how to contact them.
Right.
A lot of people said that list was worth coming.
Wow,
So
that's interesting.
I guess the
interesting.
fact that the city wants us to do it again
Mhm.
is, that's
That's great.
not bad.
Right. Especially give you the venue free.
Oh,
give
yeah.
you- That's fantastic. Okay, what about someone else? A specific nonprofit that you're already involved with? I know some of yours you mentioned.
Looking, but I had tried through Watermark, the Mercy Street,
Mm-hmm.
and enjoyed that, but
Okay.
it didn't work out, unfortunately.
Okay.
But
What is Mercy Street?
I was mentoring a young girl.
It's kind of it's a location. It's a physical
West
location,
Dallas.
yeah, in West Dallas. But they do a lot of after school programming.
So it's kind of for kids that might get involved in some bad stuff, and families that don't necessarily have funds to send their children to after school programs or things like that. And in West Dallas, which can be parts of, just is it west or north? Just right by Oak Cliff.
Yeah, it's
So
just
when I
it's just
lived
north
there-
of Oak Cliff.
Just north, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's a great organization, and you kind of take a girl or boy under your arm and under your wing, and just kind of do things with them and
Okay.
show them, other ways.
Yeah. What about you, Lisa? Are you involved with anything right now? Not.
1-year-old.
Okay, which is fine. Okay, yeah. Which I understand Rotary plus, some
But
other type
in
of.
the past, I've enjoyed working through CPS at
Okay.
the Children's Advocacy Center. I worked with them for a couple of years.
Okay.
I did their newsletter for them.
Okay.
And, so again, that
Yeah,
takes it
that's
back
deep
to-
work.
to
Yeah.
the child. I
Right.
could not do that full time. That would be way too emotional for me. But
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
able to give either my legal services or my ability to write and edit and do a newsletter
Right.
to help them, and I really did enjoy working with them.
That's fantastic. Yeah. That's some pretty deep work. And no pressure to share, but do you want to share?
Well, in the past,
He's got a lot.
I've done some other things with working with a nonprofit 501c4 that help raise money for charities.
Right.
And raised, I guess while I was involved, we raised $500,000 for just a bunch of guys just needing something to do to keep out of trouble.
Is that the salesmanship club?
But, huh?
Is that the salesmanship club?
No.
Stuff with sales.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
they raised some big money.
Yeah, they do.
But I was thinking, the Rotary provides this venue for us, to find different things to do.
Yeah.
If there are passions, and I like doing challenge air, for instance.
Oh,
one of my
yeah.
favorite things to do.
Yeah.
And volunteering for that on their fly days, whatever.
Good deal. Well, then the challenge becomes defining, collecting the information, knowing more information about everybody individually, and then looking to see Rotary, what does that motto look like for us? What does that thing look like for us? Whether it's a project with a definite beginning and end, whether it has some long-term effect, but then also at the very beginning, having the conversation about how do we measure, how do we articulate what the impact, what the results is going to be. And I always recommend to everybody do that on the front end. Sometimes nonprofits, because they are resource challenged, they may not have that answer, but asking the question helps to prompt the work that's required in order to be able to articulate that. And you just keep asking that question until there's a little bit of clarity.
We encourage clubs to work together, the smaller clubs to work together on
Great.
projects, whether it be a fundraiser or a service project.
That's great. Yeah, joint venture, but in the nonprofit world. Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense because you want to leverage all of that and not wear out a small club, because that could become could become your sole focus if everything isn't scaled correctly, as far as the amount of work, the scope of the project, and the number of people that you have within the club. So that's smart. Do you continue to do that, or is that something you'll be thinking about over the next couple of?
Continue to do.
Okay, awesome.
So
We-
I have
Go ahead.
I have a question.
Sure.
What I would like to have exist, but I kind of doubt does, is a website to go to see a list of all of the available nonprofits that are out there that we could get involved in?
There are.
Thousands.
There are.
Yeah.
But I mean, thousands of websites, yes, but
No,
is there one?
thousands of
No,
organizations.
there's some that are
Right,
local.
okay, so,
There's
but is
some
there
that are
one
local.
website to go to?
There are several websites to
Okay.
go to that you can go to locally.
Okay.
The one that I actually like right now, because we eventually want to build a site, doesn't everybody? That's an engine like this, but volley.com, and this is the
EY?
VOLY,
Okay.
and one L. It's the Volunteer Center of North Texas website. I like it because they've gone a more social route, meaning that you can connect easier with like-minded people, which is very important because you want to know, if you know someone that's a part of that, you want to be able to see what they're involved with. If someone is already involved with it that you know, you want to get a recommendation, like if they're involved with that organization, what's your experience been? And so it being more social than some of the others, I think is very helpful. There's certainly volunteer match. You may have some folks that cannot volunteer their physical time, their physical presence, but they're willing to do what are basically kind of online volunteer opportunities. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of them, but if someone's like, I want to give my time, but can I just donate some brain power? Give me an idea that y'all were kind of thinking about, and let me think on it. Let me develop an opinion, and then get back to you. Those types of projects are certainly out there. Yeah, let me know my time, please.
It's 6:25.
Okay, thanks. So those types of projects are out there, and the resources. Volley already has, I want to say, at least 500 projects out there, and some of them are very defined, beginning and end. Some of them are longer-term projects. But even if there's not a project there that you're like, yeah, I want that, then there are certainly, you can see the organizations. And then if there's an organization that meets the collective's needs, then you can contact that organization and say, these are the people, this is why we want to do it. And then talk about, ask them, for this group, what do you have available as far as a volunteer opportunity?
And is that a clearinghouse for all of the Metroplex, or is it Dallas-centric, or?
It is North Texas.
Okay.
So it's Dallas-Fort Worth, surrounding suburbs.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're a great resource. You sometimes have to press them, but they're a great resource. So be willing to do that. There are actually starting to be organizations, and I met with one yesterday called the Jericho Road, that are bridge builder. They are that communication bridge between volunteers and nonprofits, and they provide also a resource. Hey.
Oh, we can see you, Bill.
We see the water. He's probably thinking about us.
He'll say something.
He'll say something. Okay.
It's blowing his hair.
Yeah. It's bobbing too, I think. We're gonna get seasick watching you.
There's the wind.
There he is.
I hear the wind.
We can hear you, Bill.
It's very windy.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, we can
We
tell.
lost you.
We can tell. But there are those resources out there, and I can certainly email you guys some of the other resources that we really like. And it could be you say, you know what, there's something we see in an area of Dallas that we want to take on as a project. I am certainly willing to help you to scope it in the sense of, is that too big? Is that,
Right.
what have you? I'm certainly willing to do that. I'm a huge proponent of people, if they see something and there's not some organization out there that's doing it, don't let that be a hindrance. Do it. And you can be the catalyst for bringing together other resources and getting it done.